It was a Tuesday. Not a particularly special Tuesday, mind you, but the kind of Tuesday that makes you wonder why we even bother having Tuesdays at all. The sun rose, as it tends to do, casting its annoyingly cheerful light over the bustling city of New Amsterdam. In a quaint little coffee shop nestled between a bank that was definitely a money laundering front and a gym where people pretended to exercise, stood Zoe Mitchell. Barista extraordinaire, master of the sarcastic eye roll, and unknowing saviour of the human race. "Welcome to Been There, Done That, where our coffee is as bitter as your ex and twice as hot," Zoe drawled to the bleary-eyed customer who had just stumbled in. "What's your poison?" The man mumbled something that sounded vaguely like espresso, if you were generous and hard of hearing. "I've given up on sleep forever, coming right up," Zoe quipped, turning to the espresso machine with the grace of a caffeinated ballerina. As she crafted the life-giving elixir, Zoe glanced out the window. People hurried by, faces buried in their phones, narrowly avoiding collisions with each other and various inanimate objects. A typical day in the life of the human race, blissfully unaware that their entire existence was about to be turned upside down. "You know," Zoe mused to no one in particular, "I've got a feeling today's going to be interesting. And not we've got a new flavour of muffin interesting, more like the universe is about to play a cosmic joke on us all interesting." Little did she know, the punchline was already on its way, hurtling through space at faster-than-light speeds. And Zoe, armed with nothing but her razor-sharp wit and an unhealthy caffeine addiction, was about to become Earth's first, last, and only line of defense. Zoe was in the middle of explaining to a customer why, no, they couldn't have a sugar-free, fat-free, dairy-free, flavor-free latte, because at that point it's just sad hot water, when the sky outside suddenly turned an alarming shade of purple. "Huh," she said, tilting her head. "Either the local weather channel is seriously upping its special effects game, or we're about to have a very interesting day." As if on cue, a massive shadow fell over the city. People on the street stopped in their tracks, their jaws dropping in unison as they gazed upward. Hovering above the skyline was a fleet of spacecraft so enormous it made rush-hour traffic look like a quaint little parade. "Well, would you look at that?" Zoe mused, leaning on the counter. "Seems like the universe decided to crash our little Tuesday party." Outside, chaos erupted. People ran in every direction, screaming about the end times and frantically trying to remember where they'd left their apocalypse survival kits. A man in a business suit sprinted past the coffee shop window, briefcase in one hand, half-eaten hot dog in the other. "You know," Zoe called out to her remaining customers, who were all frozen in various states of caffeinated panic, "I'm pretty sure this isn't covered in our satisfaction guaranteed or your money back policy." Just then, every electronic device in the city crackled to life. Phones, tablets, even the ancient TV in the corner of the coffee shop that Zoe was convinced predated color programming. A deep, resonant voice boomed out, "People of Earth, your planet is now under the control of the Galactic Confederation. Resistance is futile. Surrender immediately or face annihilation." There was a moment of stunned silence, broken only by the sound of someone dropping their pumpkin spice latte. Zoe sighed, reaching for a mop. Great. Aliens, because clearly this day wasn't interesting enough already. As the city descended into pandemonium, Zoe couldn't help but wonder if she should have called in sick today. Little did she know, her sarcastic quips and unimpressed demeanor were about to make her humanity's unlikely champion in the face of an alien invasion. As the alien message echoed through every device, world leaders scrambled to respond. Emergency meetings were called, war rooms were activated, and somewhere, a group of very important people were likely arguing over which tie would look best for humanity's first extraterrestrial press conference. Meanwhile, in New Amsterdam, Zoe was dealing with her own crisis. "No, Karen, I can't give you a refund because aliens invaded," she explained to an irate customer. "Intergalactic warfare is not covered under our return policy." Karen huffed. "Well, I never! I'm going to leave a very strongly worded review on Yelp about this." Zoe rolled her eyes. "Yes, because I'm sure the aliens will take that into consideration when they're deciding whether to vaporize us or not." As Karen stormed out, Zoe's attention was drawn to the TV. The president of the United Earth Federation was addressing the planet, his face a perfect mix of constipation and barely concealed panic. "My fellow Earthlings," he began, his voice quivering slightly, We come in peace." Zoe face-palmed. "Oh, for the love of... Did he really just say that?" The alien response was swift and decidedly unimpressed. Every screen flickered, replacing the president's face with what appeared to be a very annoyed purple squid in a sparkly uniform. "Foolish humans," the alien gurgled. "Your pathetic attempt at diplomacy is noted and dismissed. Prepare for..." Suddenly, the transmission cut off. In the silence that followed, Zoe realized she'd accidentally sat on the remote control for the ancient TV. "Oops," she muttered, standing up. But as she did, she noticed something strange. Her phone was displaying a different message, one that definitely wasn't meant for human eyes. "Commander's Lawbacks," it read. "The humans appear even more primitive than our initial scans suggested. Recommend immediate initiation of Plan Omega-3, fish in a barrel." Zoe blinked, reread the message, then groaned. "Oh, great. Not only are we being invaded, but we're being invaded by aliens who think they're clever. This day just keeps getting better and better." Little did Zoe know, her accidental interception of this alien transmission was about to catapult her into the most bizarre diplomatic mission in Earth's history. Armed with nothing but her wits, a steady supply of caffeine, and a complete lack of filter, she was about to become humanity's last, best hope for survival. And all she wanted was to finish her shift and go home to binge-watch cat videos. As chaos reigned outside and people ran around like headless chickens, which Zoe mused was probably not the best impression to make on our new alien overlords, something utterly bizarre happened. A beam of shimmering light burst through the coffee shop's ceiling, enveloping Zoe in its glow. "Oh, come on," Zoe groaned. "I just mopped this floor." Before she could finish her complaint, she found herself transported to what appeared to be the bridge of an alien spaceship. Sleek, otherworldly consoles blinked and pulsed around her, and a group of very surprised-looking purple squid aliens stared at her with their multiple eye stalks. Zoe said, looking down at the to-go cup still in her hand. "I don't suppose any of you ordered a venti macchiato?" The largest alien, presumably Commander's Lawbacks, recovered first. "Human!" it gurgled indignantly. "How did you infiltrate our secure command center?" Zoe shrugged. "Beats me. One second I'm dealing with the Tuesday rush, the next I'm in the middle of a calamari convention. By the way, your teleportation thing needs some work. It's murder on the sinuses." The aliens chittered among themselves, clearly baffled by Zoe's nonchalant attitude. "Silence!" Zlorbax thundered. "You stand before the mighty Galactic Confederation. Tremble, puny human." Zoe raised an eyebrow. "Yeah, about that. I couldn't help but notice your little Plan Omega-3. Fish in a barrel. Really? That's the best you could come up with? I've heard better trash talk in a preschool sandbox." The aliens froze, tentacles twitching nervously. How do you know about that?" Zlorbax stammered. "Let's just say your encryption could use some work," Zoe smirked. "Now, since I'm apparently Earth's impromptu ambassador, and boy, is that a terrifying thought, how about we skip the whole tremble puny human routine and get down to business?" The aliens huddled together, whispering furiously. Zoe caught snippets like unpredictable, potential threat, and why isn't it scared? Finally, Zlorbax turned back to her. "Very well, human. You have intrigued us. We propose a series of challenges to determine your planet's fate. If you succeed, we will leave your world in peace. If you fail..." "Let me guess," Zoe interrupted. "Vaporization? Enslavement? Forced to listen to nothing but elevator music for all eternity?" "Worse," Zlorbax said ominously. "You'll have to survive. Our retail service industry." Zoe's eyes widened in genuine horror. "You monsters!" And so, with the weight of humanity's future on her shoulders and armed with nothing but her razor-sharp wit, Zoe found herself agreeing to a cosmic game of chance against an alien armada. As Zlorbax began explaining the rules, she couldn't help but think that maybe she should have taken that sick day after all. Zoe stood on the bridge of the alien flagship, surrounded by a sea of twitching tentacles and blinking lights. Commander Zlorbax floated before her, looking as smug as a squid-like alien possibly could. "The rules are simple, human," Zlorbax gurgled. "You will face 3 challenges, each testing a different aspect of your species' capabilities. Succeed, and your planet lives. Fail, and, well, let's just say Earth will make a lovely parking lot for our invasion fleet." Zoe sipped her now cold macchiato, unimpressed. "Right, and I suppose these challenges are going to be fair and balanced, without any alien advantages whatsoever." A ripple of what might have been laughter passed through the alien crew. Zlorbax's tentacles curled in amusement. "Of course not. Where would be the fun in that?" "Figures," Zoe muttered. "All right, Squid Squad, lay it on me. What's first on the agenda? Advanced calculus, intergalactic diplomacy, a hot dog eating contest?" Zlorbax's eye stalks blinked in confusion. "Hot dog? Never mind. Your first challenge will test your species' physical prowess. You must complete our elite obstacle course, in high gravity." A hollow screen flickered to life, showing a nightmare of spinning blades, acid pits, and what looked suspiciously like a giant alien blender. Zoe stared at the course, then back at Zlorbax. "You do realize humans aren't exactly known for our physical prowess, right? We're more the sit on the couch and binge-watch entire seasons in one go type." "Too bad," Zlorbax sneered. "Perhaps you'd like to surrender now and save us both the trouble." Zoe's eyes narrowed. "Not a chance, Calamari, but I do have one condition." "You dare to make demands?" Zlorbax sputtered. "Hey, you're the ones who kidnapped a random barista to represent all of humanity. I think I'm entitled to at least one request," Zoe shot back. "I want a human referee, someone to make sure you don't pull any squiggly tentacle shenanigans during these challenges." The aliens conferred among themselves, a chorus of burbles and gurgles filling the air. Finally, Zlorbax turned back to Zoe. "Very well. You may choose one human to oversee the challenges. Choose wisely." Zoe grinned. "Oh, I know just the person. Hope you're ready for a taste of your own medicine, because I'm calling in Karen." The aliens looked confused, but Zoe's grin only widened. If anyone could out-complain and out-demand an alien armada, it was Karen from the coffee shop. This was going to be interesting. As preparations for the first challenge began, Zoe couldn't help but wonder if she'd just made the biggest mistake of her life, or if she'd stumbled upon humanity's secret weapon against alien invasion. Pure, unadulterated customer service hell. The alien obstacle course loomed before Zoe, a monstrosity of shiny metal and ominous whirring noises. Karen stood off to the side, clipboard in hand, looking like she was ready to demand to speak to the manager of the entire galaxy. "All right, tentacle boy," Karen snapped at Zlorbax. "Let's see the safety inspection certificates for this contraption. I bet you don't even have proper liability insurance." Zlorbax's eye stalks swiveled in confusion. "Insurance? Liability? What are these Earth concepts?" Zoe grinned. Karen was already working her magic. Now, Zoe interjected. "I'm sure our gracious hosts have everything in order. After all, they wouldn't want to risk an intergalactic lawsuit, would they?" Zlorbax gurgled nervously. "Of course not. Let the challenge begin." A buzzer sounded, and Zoe felt the gravity increase. It was like trying to run through molasses while wearing a sumo wrestler as a backpack. "Oh, joy," she muttered, stumbling forward. The first obstacle was a series of swinging blades. Zoe watched their pattern, then had an idea. She took off her apron and tossed it into the blades. It wrapped around one, jamming the mechanism. "Oops," she said innocently, strolling past the now stationary blades. Next came the acid pit. Zoe looked at it, then at her coffee cup. With a shrug, she dumped the remaining cold coffee into the pit. The acid fizzed and bubbled, turning an odd shade of green. "What?" Zoe said to the gawking aliens. "You've never seen coffee before? This stuff could probably strip paint off a starship." She used the empty cup as a makeshift platform, hopping across the neutralized acid pit. The final obstacle was the giant alien blender. Zoe approached it, eyeing the control panel. "You know, she called out to Zlorbax. "On Earth we have these things called safety switches. They're pretty neat. Maybe you should look into them." Before anyone could stop her, Zoe slammed her fist down on the emergency stop button. The blender ground to a halt. "Well, would you look at that?" Zoe said, casually strolling through the now silent blender. "I guess your alien technology isn't so different from ours after all." She reached the finish line, barely out of breath. The alien stared in disbelief. Karen marched up to Zlorbax, waving her clipboard. "I want to file a formal complaint about the unsafe conditions of this course. And don't even get me started on the lack of proper signage." Zlorbax looked from Karen to Zoe, tentacles drooping in defeat. You have passed the first challenge, but do not celebrate yet, human. The next test will not be so easy." Zoe smirked. "Bring it on, Squidface. Earth's got plenty more surprises up its sleeve." As they prepared for the next challenge, Zoe couldn't help but wonder what other absurd tests the aliens had in store. But with her wit, Karen's complaints, and humanity's knack for finding loopholes, she was starting to think they might just have a chance. After surviving a logic puzzle that made quantum physics look like child's play, Zoe's solution: unplug the alien supercomputer and turn it back on again. And a cultural exchange that ended with the aliens developing an unhealthy addiction to reality TV, it was time for the final challenge. Zlorbax, looking significantly less smug than when this all started, cleared his throat, or whatever the alien equivalent was. "Human Zoe, you have proven surprisingly resourceful, but this final test will determine the fate of your planet once and for all." "Let me guess," Zoe drawled. "You want me to explain why humans still haven't figured out how to fold fitted sheets properly?" "Silence," Zlorbax gurgled. "Your final challenge is this. You must make us laugh." Zoe blinked. "Come again?" "Our research shows that humor is a highly evolved trait. If you can make our entire council laugh genuinely, we will concede that your species is worthy of continued existence." Zoe looked around at the stern faces of the alien council. Making this bunch laugh would be like trying to get a smile out of a DMV employee on a Monday morning. "All right," she said, cracking her knuckles, "but I get to set the stage. Karen!" Karen appeared, dragging a startled alien behind her. "I found one that speaks English, and let me tell you, their customer service is atrocious." "Perfect," Zoe grinned. "Ladies, gentlemen, and assorted tentacled beings, welcome to Earth's first intergalactic roast battle." The aliens murmured in confusion as Zoe grabbed the English-speaking alien and pulled it center stage. "Now," Zoe announced, "I'm going to teach you the fine art of insult comedy. It's like diplomatic negotiations, but with more hurt feelings and fewer threats of planetary destruction." What followed was a masterclass in human snark. Zoe fired off one-liners faster than the aliens could translate them. "Hey, Zlorbax, did you get dressed in the dark? Or is the just invaded a planet look in this season? I've seen more intimidating tentacles in a plate of calamari. Your spaceship is so old it probably runs on Windows Vista." At first, the aliens were stunned, but as Karen helpfully explained the concept of sick burns to them, tentative chuckles began to emerge. By the time Zoe got to her bit about alien probes and Earth's obsession with bidets, even Zlorbax was shaking with laughter. "And don't even get me started on your invasion plans," Zoe concluded. "I mean, fish in a barrel, more like squid in a circus." The alien council erupted in tentacle-slapping, gurgling laughter. Zlorbax, wiping tears from his eye stalks, raised a tentacle for silence. "Human Zoe," he said, still chuckling, "you have done the impossible. You have not only made us laugh, but have shown us that perhaps we have underestimated your species. Earth shall remain free." Zoe grinned. "Does this mean I get a good Yelp review?" As the aliens prepared to depart, leaving behind a confused but intact Earth, Zoe couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. She'd saved the planet armed with nothing but sarcasm and an unhealthy caffeine addiction. Just another Tuesday at Been There, Done That. As the alien Armada retreated, their massive ships shrinking to pinpoints of light in the sky, Earth erupted into celebration. Streets filled with people cheering, hugging, and wondering if they could get alien invasion days off work in the future. Back in New Amsterdam, Zoe stood outside her coffee shop, watching the impromptu street party with a mixture of amusement and exhaustion. A news van screeched to a halt in front of her, and a breathless reporter shoved a microphone in her face. "Miss Mitchell, you single-handedly saved humanity. How does it feel to be Earth's greatest hero?" Zoe raised an eyebrow. "Honestly, I could use a nap, and maybe some therapy. Do you know any good shrinks specializing in I insulted an alien armada into submission PTSD? The reporter laughed nervously, unsure if she was joking. "But surely you must feel a sense of pride, accomplishment." "Look," Zoe sighed, "all I did was be myself. If that's what it takes to save the world, we might want to rethink our planetary defense strategies." As the reporter continued to babble questions, a sleek black car pulled up. A man in a crisp suit stepped out, sunglasses gleaming ominously. "Miss Mitchell," he said, flashing a badge, "I'm with a certain three-letter agency. We'd like to debrief you on your experience." Zoe looked at him, then at the reporter, then at the celebrating crowd. She took a deep breath and shouted, "Free coffee for everyone! We survived an alien invasion, for crying out loud!" As people cheered and rushed towards the coffee shop, Zoe slipped away in the chaos, leaving the agent and reporter sputtering in her wake. Hours later, as the sun set on the most bizarre day in Earth's history, Zoe sat on her apartment roof, nursing a cup of tea. She'd had enough coffee to last a lifetime. Her phone buzzed incessantly with messages from world leaders, talk show hosts, and what appeared to be an alien fan club. "You know," she mused to herself, "I bet those squids don't have to deal with overtime after saving their planet." As New Amsterdam twinkled below her, still celebrating, Zoe couldn't help but chuckle. She'd gone from slinging lattes to slinging insults at intergalactic invaders, all before her lunch break. Just as she was considering whether Savior of Earth would look good on a resume, her phone buzzed again. It was her boss. "Zoe, darling," the message read, "fantastic job saving the world and all that, but we're short-staffed tomorrow. Can you cover the morning shift?" Zoe stared at the message, then burst out laughing. Some things, it seemed, were universal alien invasions or not. 6 months after the day that would go down in history as the Great Caffeinated Confrontation, life had settled into a new kind of normal. Earth had joined the galactic community, albeit with a reputation for being the snarky class clown of the universe. Zoe, much to her chagrin, had become something of a celebrity. She'd turned down book deals, movie rights, and an offer to become Earth's official alien ambassador, citing a desire to not deal with that level of crazy on a daily basis. Instead, she found herself the owner of the newly rebranded Been There Saved That coffee shop. The place had become a hotspot for both humans and the occasional curious alien tourist. On this particular morning, Zoe was wiping down the counter when the door chimed. She looked up to see a familiar purple tentacled form squeeze through the entrance. "Well, well, well," Zoe smirked, "if it isn't Commander Zlorbax, what brings you to our humble planet? Craving some more of that human humor?" Zlorbax's eye stalks swiveled nervously. "Greetings, human Zoe. I come seeking advice." Zoe raised an eyebrow. "Advice? From little old me? I'm flattered. What's the matter? Galactic Confederation having trouble with their space DMV?" "Not exactly," Zlorbax gurgled. "You see, after our encounter, I've been reassigned. The Confederation believes I would be better suited to diplomatic relations." Zoe snorted. "Let me guess. They want you to learn the art of human sarcasm." Zlorbax's tentacles drooped in confirmation. Zoe sighed, then grinned. "All right, Squidface. Grab a seat. Lesson 1 in human diplomacy. Never invade a planet before you've had your morning coffee." As she prepared a special alien invasion blend for her unlikely student, Zoe couldn't help but shake her head at the absurdity of it all. Here she was, a former barista turned reluctant planetary savior, now teaching an alien how to be snarky. "You know," she mused, sliding the coffee across the counter, "if someone had told me a year ago that I'd be giving sass lessons to a space squid, I'd have told them to lay off the espresso." Zlorbax took a sip, his eye stalks widening in surprise. "This is not unpleasant. Perhaps there is hope for me yet. There's hope for everyone, Zoe chuckled. Even grumpy alien invaders. Now let's work on your delivery. Repeat after me. I come in peace, but I might leave in pieces. As Zlorback stumbled through human idioms and pop culture references, Zoe couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. She may not have signed up to be Earth's ambassador, but somehow she'd ended up bridging the gap between worlds anyway, one sarcastic quip at a time.